Hey there everyone, what's up and welcome back to another video on streaming stars. Stranger Things has really come out and swept everyone off their feet. While it looks more like a show for teens and young adults, nobody can get enough of all the entertainment that it has to offer. The show is captivating with its amusing characters, well-thought-out script and the fear of the mind flare. But that does not mean it does not have mistakes. Fortunately, these mistakes are not as huge, but if you really keep an eye out for them, there is no way you could miss them. Apart from keen eye, you'll need to have plenty of knowledge about history. In case you don't see the mistakes, here are 10 mistakes you missed in Stranger Things. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss out on anything. Alright, let's begin. Number 10. The Upside Down Season 1. Among some of the most important concepts in the history of the show, one is the Upside Down. The Upside Down is actually a parallel but alternate dimension. When its history is largely unknown, the force behind it is not. Not surprisingly, the main antagonist of the show, the Mind Flayer, is behind the Upside Down. Given the importance of this concept, you would expect the creators of the show to give you a pretty clear interpretation. However, they can't just tell you everything in the very first season, right? So they give you a partial explanation. This explanation comes from Mr. Clark. He explains it using the example of a tightrope, an acrobat, and a flea. If the tightrope is our dimension, the acrobat can only move forward or backwards. But if a flea were to be introduced, it could move on the sides and even under the rope, the upside down. However, a cosmologist later explained that the analogy was not correct. Even if the flea could move upside down, it will still be in the same dimension. So really, Clark is not as good of a teacher as you thought he was. Number 9. The Cabrio Season 1. The most difficult part about creating a show in an entirely different era is to take care of the nitty-gritty details of those items. Since Stranger Things is set in the 1980s, this era problem definitely shows up over and over again. Season 1 is set in 1983 and does a great job at staying true to its times. However, there are some glaring errors. One of the biggest goofs for the show was the car that Barb drives. The car is actually a 1986 Volkswagen Cabrio. As the name suggests, the car came out in 1986, not in 1983. A similar error was with the walkie-talkies seen in Season 1 that were actually released in 1985. Some other minor errors also made it to the big screen. But of course, while the other things were pretty discreet, the car was right in everyone's face. How did nobody ever catch that error before the show hit the big screen? Number 8. The Bike Lights Season 1. Something very rare in the Stranger Things series are camera glitches or editing errors. This is largely because the production team did such a great job at their work. However, that does not mean they were perfect at it. There were still some errors that you could catch if you were looking for them. One such error was in the bicycles that the cast rode around. As endearing as it looked, even the most adorable accessories in the series can have errors. The error was with the lights that were on those cycles. At night, you could see the lights shining bright white, but if you were to see the same light during the day, you would notice an orange tinge to the lamps. This is actually a gel that the production team would use to numb the light during the night for the cameras. Seems like the team forgot to remove the gel for filming during the day, and it was caught on camera. Number 7. Kentucky Fried Chicken Season 2. As I've already said, making a show in a different era is very difficult because the creators have to make sure they capture all the nitty-gritty details. Season 2 has its fair share of the errors that are time-related, but another thing Season 2 has plenty of are brand placements. So it was really hilarious when the error and the placement combined together to present a great goof-up. In episode 1 of Season 2, we see Steve sitting at the dinner table and enjoying some great fried chicken. In the middle of the table, we see the KFC buckets that are so common today. But what is different about KFC at that time is that it was called Kentucky Fried Chicken till 1991 and not KFC. But Steve just goes on to say, I love KFC. So Steve really messed up when he abbreviated the name, showing that he was not really living in the 1980s, the time of the show. Number 6. Mad Max Season 2. It is one thing to have just messed up the name of a franchise without knowing about its actual history, but an entirely different thing to intentionally change things to fit the show. Stranger Things showed the children obsessing over a game called Dig Dug. If you think we would say that they made up the entire game, you are wrong. The game definitely exists in reality. But what does not exist is the feature to type more than 3 letters when you get a high score. So really, when the characters try to figure out who this person Mad Max is, who has the highest score in the game, you should know it is just a hoax. In reality, you can only type 3 letters. So you could have only typed Mad or Max. But you can't deny this little stunt is a great way to introduce Max as a character with some swag. So I won't hold this one against the creators. Number 5. Power Windows or Manuals Season 2. Billy Hargrove was definitely an interesting character. He dressed great, had great hair, and drove a beast. But really, when it comes to cars, Stranger Things has not had a lot of luck. First, it was Barb's Volkswagen Cabrio that was actually released in 1986, and now this. Billy did not drive a Volkswagen though. He drove a Camaro, and no, the problem with this car was not that it was released in a different era than the show. The problem is that there were actually 2 of Billy's cars. How do I know that? I know that because the car actually has different windows in different scenes. In one of the scenes, you can see that it has automatic power windows, but in another scene, you can see the roll-up shaft attached to the door of the car. Number 4. Planck's Constant Season 3. Season 3 has perhaps the highest number of mistakes of the 3 seasons, and somehow they are so outrageous that no layman could have caught them. For instance, one such error is seen in the season finale of the show. The finale shows Dustin reaching out to Susie, who was his girlfriend during summer camp. But there is a reason that Dustin reaches out to her at such a crucial moment in the show. He needs the figure for Planck's constant unit. After some build-up, Dustin does get the number and it is 626070004. The number seems to work. However, what many people did not catch is that this value is actually wrong. The show is set in 1985, which means that the constant would have the value decided in 1973. The value was actually 6.26176. However, the value that Susie gives him is the 2014 value of the number. Number 3. M&M's Season 3. Given that the cast is all children, there is no doubt that candies and treats would make an appearance on the show. But who could guess there would be a mistake hidden in these yummy treats that you would miss? In an episode in Season 3, we see Mike and Eleven sharing some M&Ms. Mike pours some green and red M&Ms in Eleven's palms. But wait, there are red M&Ms? Red M&Ms could not have been in the show since the red food dye was banned during the time because it was thought to be carcinogenic. And they were not banned for a year or 2, but for an entire 11 years from 1976 to 1987. So you can't defend it by saying that maybe that particular pack of M&Ms was still edible in a year after the ban. Really? What else is left if you can't even get your M&Ms? Number 2. Car Again. It seems Stranger Things just can't get enough of car mistakes. Well, for a second time, we see Billy in the midst of it all. This time though, the problem is not that there are 2 cars or that the car is a future model, but something completely different. In the last few moments of episode 1 of season 3, we see Billy planning a trip with Karen. Excited for the trip, Billy is seen practicing some lines in the rearview mirror of his car and crashes. The crash is followed by plenty of damage to the car and noises of something leaking out. Not surprisingly, the car does not start when he tries the ignition after the crash. Episode 2 picks up from the same spot, except Billy has left his car outside to explore the spooky garage. But he lands himself into some terrible incidents inside and rushes out. When he comes out though, he just starts his car and leaves. The car that was just in an accident leaked some fluids and wouldn't start at the close of the last episode. Number 1. Camera, Season 3. One error that the Stranger Things franchise has largely avoided is its camera crew being seen. But not in this error. In episode 5, we witness some intense battle scenes in the hospital. It is here that we see close-ups of a surgical light over and over again. But if you look closely enough, you can see the cameraman in the light's reflective surface wearing shorts. Bet you didn't notice it before. While there are plenty of errors in the 3 seasons of the show, I have to say that the production team behind Stranger Things does a pretty good job at handling these errors. If anything, most errors are those that the average viewer can't catch, except for a few outrageous ones here and there. This brings us to the end of our video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, then let us know by liking the video. Stick around for more amazing content, as we will be soon seeing you in another video. Until then, take care and goodbye.